Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about distribution again, but today we're going to be talking about distributing two binomials together or distributing two terms that have more than one number or variable in them together, and then combining like terms or simplifying when we are all done. So we're going to take it up a level from the first level of this. Once again, with distribution, we can always use a generic rectangle to help us distribute out fully, because when we're multiplying terms, we need to make sure that we are multiplying every single term together and we're not missing one. So in the case of our first example, we are multiplying the quantity x plus 2, which has two terms, by the quantity x minus 5, which also has two terms. So for this, we are going to draw a 2 by 2 generic rectangle. On one side of the generic rectangle, I will write my x plus 2, and on the other side, I will write my x and minus 5. And remember, we can think of that as x plus a negative 5. So then we're going to go ahead and start multiplying this in. So we have x times x, which is going to give us x squared, x times negative 5, which will give us negative 5x, x times positive 2, which will give us 2x, and positive 2 times a negative 5, which will give us negative 10. So our final answer comes from us adding together all of the terms inside of our generic rectangle. So we are adding x squared plus 2x plus negative 5x, which I can also write as minus 5x, and then plus negative 10, which I can also write as minus 10. So now we want to determine if there are any like terms that we can combine, and we see we have two x values that are like terms that we can combine. So we can rewrite this as x squared, and then 2x minus 5x will give us a negative 3x, and we keep the minus 10. So this will give us our final answer to this problem. All right, guys, time for the joke of the video. So go ahead and write your answer to this joke on your notes sheet off to the side. And when we come around to check your notes for completion, we will come check your answers. So the joke, let us know what you think. What do you call a duck that gets all A's? Go ahead and write your answer. Tell me what you think, and then we'll come see if you're right. All right, for this next problem, we have a lot going on here. So part of this problem is asking us to distribute some terms, and then we're going to need to combine all like terms. So right now for the distribution part, we are just going to focus on these terms that are inside parentheses. When we look at order of operations, or in other words, PEMDAS, as you guys might have heard before, we always want to start with parentheses and then do any exponents that we have, then multiplication and division, and then finally we can worry about the addition and subtraction. So this is telling us to work with our parentheses first, and we are wanting to multiply them. So once again, we can use our generic rectangle to help us distribute out x minus 4 times 2x plus 1. Because we are multiplying a two-term by a two-term expression, we can draw a 2 by 2 generic rectangle. So on one side of your generic rectangle, we have x and a negative 4. And on the other side, we have a 2x and a positive 1. So we're going to go ahead and start multiplying this out. So we have x times 2x, and so we will get the quantity 2x squared in our top box. We have x times a positive 1, which will leave us with 1x, or if you would just like to write x, you're more than welcome to do that. We have negative 4 times 2x, which will give us negative 8x. And then finally, we have negative 4 times a positive 1, which will give us negative 4. So for the multiplication piece, we are left with 2x squared plus 1x minus 8x minus 4. But we can't forget those terms that were on the outside of our equation. So we had a 3 plus at the very beginning, and a minus 8 at the very end. So now that we have rewritten our expression in completely separate terms, we've multiplied everything out that we can multiply, we are now focused on adding and subtracting the like terms. So we want to start with the highest term, which is going to be the x squared term. And it looks like we only have one of these guys. So I will write 2x squared first. Now we want to look for any of the x terms. So it looks like I have a positive 1x and a negative 8x. If I combine those two together, I get negative 7x. And then finally, we are looking to combine our constant numbers, or the numbers that don't have a variable or a letter behind them. So I see 3, a negative 4, and a negative 8. So if I do 3 minus 4, I get negative 1. And if I have negative 1 minus 8, I get negative 9 or minus 9. So my final expression, once I have multiplied and distributed everything out I can possibly distribute, I am left with 2x squared minus 7x minus 9.